Get ready for the ultimate NRL experience. With non-stop action and top-notch analysis, this is the podcast for all rugby league fans. So join us for a deep dive into the world of rugby league and don't miss a beat of the action.
We are back. Welcome back to the Gone for 10 show. We took a bit of a hiatus after the World Cup. There was some late nights, there was some early mornings watching those games. So we took a well-deserved break. But Baxter, we're right around the corner of, obviously first the preseason, but we are right around the corner from the NRL season, mate. How are you feeling? It's great to have you back. And are you ready to go, mate?
Mate, I am ready as ever. Over the break, we had our Christmas party. Andrew Abdo and Peter Vlandis was there. I heard Gus Gould was passing around a clipboard trying to get the Canterbury Breakdown Bulldogs name changed to the Canterbury Panthers 2.0, but I don't know if that fell on deaf ears. We had our mate Ricky up from Canberra as well with Paul Kent there, so it was some good times there. So let's rip into this.
You know, the best part about this podcast is we didn't rehearse any of that. I had no idea what you were going to say, where you were going with the Christmas party. But obviously, Baxter, good. We do have one getting made up for you at the moment because we do have some very
it looks good.
Nice
it looks good.
Ready to go. So if you want one of those, definitely get in touch. But Baxter, like the video at the start said, we're here for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, the Dolphins, the new boys on the block, and obviously the Warriors from across the ditch. We're here for their season previews. We'll talk about the preseason challenge. We'll talk about the signings, the ins, the outs. But I'm going to jump straight into it. I'm going to throw it to you. It's the South Sydney Rabbitohs up first. Up on the screen, I'll let you go through it. Talk me through their losses. Talk me through their gains. And go into a little bit more depth, obviously, on each player. Like, obviously, you look at that. Their losses are probably a lot bigger than their gains coming in. But talk to me about it.
Yeah, so you got it's actually Mark Nichols for the Dolphins, not March, the month, but that's all right. We're dusting off the cobwebs here. You got Cody Nicarita going to the Dolphins, and you got Jackson Paulo, who signed mid-season to go to the Roosters. For their gains, they got Terrell Calo, Josepha. Look, if you're new to the show, our English is very strong. I didn't pass my HSC, so bear with me if I butcher your name. I'm just going to call you Joseph Carr. You got Ben Lovett and Leon T. Hayu. Also, both of those players coming in the 2024 season. One notable big gain as well is the signing of Latrell and Walker. Off contract now. Were off contract, now on contract. So they've got their spine sorted. I heard maybe Cookie re-signed as well. So they're 1, 6, 9, and 7 look to be strong as ever, especially under their coach. So it's going to be a good season for the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously an interesting one. And like you said, we are dusting off those cobwebs. This image was made very early this morning. So listen, let's just be happy that I got the right team on the page, especially with that picture. But I look at their outs, I look at their ins, and I say, okay, they were 1-2 steps away. They dominated the Roosters, obviously, in Sin Bin Sunday. That's what we're calling it. It wasn't the first semi-final. It was Sin Bin Sunday. They dominated the Roosters. But Mark Nichols, talk to me about him. Obviously, the Dolphins, I think that's a great pickup for them. It's absolute mongrel in that pack. How big of a loss is, I guess, this to the Dolphins, to the Rabbitohs, and how much of a gain is that to the Dolphins, which we'll obviously talk about shortly?
It is a big loss for any team to have a seasoned vet in their forward pack where you give him 2-3 dot plans of what you want your game plan to be. Added that into, Elias giving his little bit of word, and Walker as well, what they want their forward pack to do. So it is a big loss. The Dolphins will surely love to have him there, and he's going to do really well up there. But you just got to find the right player to replace him. Not don't go out there and just sign willy-nilly, but find the right player. Whether it's you take a year to find him or you find him accidentally mid-year, we'll just have to wait and see for the South Sydney Rabbitohs there.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, like you said, he's an absolute veteran of this side. Obviously, you do look at the likes of Cody Nicarima, probably didn't have the biggest impact for South Sydney, but when he was put in that position, he did a job and he helped get him across the line. Jackson Polo, I think a lot of South Sydney fans are happy to see the back end of him. We know the abuse he copped, but again, he's coming into a system where every time you see a player come into that Roosters side, you hear him go, Trent's giving me belief, Trent's done this, Trent's done that. So for me, Roosters fan, I do hope obviously he does gain that momentum. He does turn into an absolute beast and he does punish South for letting him go. But we'll move on to the next side. I'll have a look at them first, but it is the Dolphins. We're not going to do the ins and outs because there is no outs and every single player that's on that team list isn't in. So we're going to look at their round one predicted lineup. Obviously, Fido was in there. There is rumours that he does have a bit of an injury, so that might change. Edric Lee at number 2, Ewan Aitken, Tessie New, Jermaine Asako, Anthony Milford, Sean O'Sullivan, Jesse Bromwich, arguably one of the best signings, I think, this season, Jeremy Marshall-Kin, Mark Nichols, not Marsh Nichols, it's Mark, Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, Tom Gilbert, and they're looking at a bench of potentially Cody Nicarima, Jared Wallace, Ray Stone, and Herman Sa. And obviously on the left, you've got, as some people like to call him, Daddy Wayne Bennett. He's back. He's had his time around the block. I'm going to get 2 things off you, and I forgot to ask you about South Sydney, so we'll start on that one. Roughly, where do you see South Sydney finishing? And then talk to me about this Dolphins side. Talk to me about that predicted one lineup, the strengths, the weaknesses, and then ultimately where you think they will finish come the end of the season.
South Sydney, I have them in my top 8. I'm not going to reveal position-wise. I think we're going to get that into a later pod, but I see them finishing top 8. If let's just imagine that there are no injuries across all 17 teams in the NRL, I have them in my top 8. And for this newly Dolphins team, it's going to be good to be coached under 73-year-old daddy Wayne Bennett. Hopefully he doesn't get a heart attack up in the coach's box because it would be a tragedy there. Look, it's a good side on paper. I believe that the Dogs let go of a terrific player in JMK. He's outstanding in the number 9 jersey, along with Sean O'Sullivan, who I have nicknamed, what's his name, Nathan Cleary 2.0 lookalike. From now on, we're going to refer to Mark Nichols as March Nichols. It's just going to be a running theme within the pod. But you look at the development players. They've got Harris Graham, Jeremiah Sikkim, Jack Bostock, and Michael Roberts that I have listed on my news here. It's funny that I can't see the other Lee cousin, Brenko Lee, making this starting lineup. So is this sort of a hit and miss with some of these players? Is it a masterclass to put pressure on these the back line to sort of push them a little bit further? But if this is how they're running out game 1 of the NRL season, should I say, against the Roosters, 4:00 Sunday, I believe it is. This team's just going to get whitewashed, and unfortunately, I have them in my bottom 9, not bottom 8, bottom 9 from now on. I don't have them coming dead last though. That's a little bit of a giveaway. Talk to me about your thoughts, because I've got nothing really glowing positive to give them. I've just got really concerns and question marks all over the park.
For me, I guess this is going to probably be one of my bigger predictions of 2023, and we're very, very new into the season. The season hasn't even started, but I think there's worse teams than this Dolphins team on paper now. Okay, that one Fido, he doesn't have a lot of experience. Edric Lee, we know what he can do when he's on his game. Ewan Aitken can be an absolute solid beast. Tessie New, Asako, we've seen what they can do. For me, it's that Anthony Milford, Sean O'Sullivan. Now, yes, Sean O'Sullivan, he played for Penrith. He looked great, but he also had one of the best forward packs behind him. arguably a top 2 fullback in the league behind him. He had a number 9 who could play the ball. At times he had Luai there with him. At times he had Nathan Cleary there with him. So I think that's where it could be. An aging Milford, a very young and inexperienced Sean O'Sullivan. I look past that. Jesse Bromwich, solid. Jeremy Marshall-Kin, like I said, I've got him there as probably one of the signings of the season. Mark Nichols or March Nichols, but maybe I was just excited because the season starts in March, so I wanted to get there a little bit quicker. Felice Kafusi, solid. Kenny Bromwich, solid. Tom Gilbert, hit and miss, but can be solid on his day. It's more that bench for me. If that is how they line up, they've got Cody Nikarima, Jared Wallace, Ray Stone, and Herma Sasa. Nikarima, can he do a job? Yes. He's not an impact player. He's not going to come on and change the game for a side that doesn't have momentum. So if they come out against the Roosters, they're down 20 in the first 20 minutes. He comes on. I don't see him changing the game. If it's a tight game against, say, the Tigers, I don't know, the Warriors, teams like that, maybe he can change the game. But I think they need to definitely look to strengthen this bench over the next couple of years, and definitely moving forward, they've got the forward pack. But Baxter, like I said, my first prediction, I don't have them finishing in the bottom 4. I've got them getting out of that bottom 4. Obviously, we'll do a later pod. We will talk about where we have each team. We'll post our ladders to social media. It's going to be on Facebook, Instagram. We started up a TikTok. We'll see how that goes, because I can make pictures on the screen. I can make images, but videos, I'm not too sure just yet. But Baxter, final say on this team. How do you think they're going to go? Is there anything else you want to add to it?
This is going to be the hashtag hopeful team that they don't get whitewashed each and every week.
Well, definitely hopeful they don't get whitewashed week in, week out, but let's hope they put 50 past them in the first game and my boys get a 50-0 win to start the season. But obviously, moving on, it is the Warriors. But guys, we are going to do this in 2 parts, and you'll see when I switch the screen over, their 2023 losses, mate. That goes for absolute ages. It's Ewan Aitken, he's gone to the Dolphins. Dejan Assi to the Eels. Leighton Fanu has been released. Jackson Frey released. Alisa Katoa, Melbourne Storm. Now, Lodge is at the Roosters, but he has been released by the Warriors in this season. That's why he's there. Dunanamis Liu is released. Jake Murchie to the Eels. Ben Murdoch Masala to the Dragons. Nikarama to the Dolphins, like we just said. Aaron Penne to Melbourne Storm. Ashley Taylor retired. And obviously, Reece Walsh to the Broncos. Baxter, anything to add? And before we do talk about purely about these losses, arguably one of the best losses, if obviously it is a major injury, Reece Walsh posted to his Instagram not too long ago, and in the video he spins around because he turns off the TV and he is in a moon boot. So talk to me about obviously this side, and then talk to me about Reece Walsh. If he is injured, if he continually has injuries, was it a smart move for the Warriors to get rid of him?
Big shock for me. I didn't even realize Ashley Taylor retired. That was like come out of nowhere. You've touched on it, Matt Lodge. He's on a training trial at Roosters at the moment. They're still trying to work out the new salary cap deal. That's why he's on a training trial. He hasn't been officially signed. Rumored that he's going to get a big payday back on the back end of what he did last year for the Roosters. But Reece Walsh, look, if you've got a player that consistently goes down and doesn't really add anything into your squad, overall, it is I give it a thumbs up. I give it a that's gold moment in releasing him to the Broncos. That's more headaches for Uncle Kevy up north. But even Uncle Kevy up north has got, apparently there's like 4, with Reece Walsh included, 4 players who's potentially fighting it out for the fullback role. So if he's in a moon boot and they're not rushing him back for round 1, those other 3 players need to step up and try and take it off their hands. Because we'll talk on a Warriors side here, but it's a positive for me. As I said, you've got a player that doesn't really add value to the squad, and he's taking up a lot of your cap. We'll get rid of him. We saw that in a number of players at other teams. Another one, Ashley Taylor, $1 million player at Titans, had to get rid of him. Took up a lot of his cap, but their losses. their losses are bad because you put those players back into that team. It makes them a hell of a lot better, especially with their gains, which we haven't even touched on yet. You add these players plus the gains that you got, and you try and fit them into the cap. Like say they fit underneath the cap. This is a side that just could push for an 8, push for a 7, or finish 9th. Just shy. But we go into the gains, and you got Mitch Barnett from the Newcastle Knights, but he's signed for 2025, so he's not there yet. So is Jackson Ford.
No. Baxter, I'll jump in there. This is when they're signed till.
They're signed till. Oh, okay. Because I was just looking. Okay, Mitch Barnett. Okay, good player, good back row. Left hand side, I think. Jackson Ford. Let's call him VK. Tamir Tamar. There's another play the Broncos shouldn't have let go. You got Luke. You got Luke McCaff. You got Chaz Nickel-Coulson, another good buy. You got Matari Nakore, Dylan Walker, and Braden Willamy. Look, there's some good players in there. 3 of them off the top of my head, without going into any detail. I don't know what the problem is for the Warriors, like as a whole. Like they had this good run in, I think it was 2011 when they made the grand final against the Manly Seagulls. But they haven't built anything off that. Like they didn't go, okay, we make a grand final appearance that year, we make a top 4 next year, we make a top 4 next year. They haven't built anything. It's like they're gone backwards. And you can just, their recruitment's all over the shop. Like, I know Gus Gould tried to put in those pathways out there and it didn't really work. And Nathan Brown, they got sacked. And this is, for me, this is one of my bottom 3. Like, you can have all the show ponies you want. It's just, don't have a really good forward pack. Don't really have a good halves pairing. And who's going to play? Who's really playing 1? Who's really playing 6, 7, and 9? Really, maybe Chaz puts at 1, and you got Tariq Mane at 6. But who's your 7 and 9? I don't know. To me, this is a team that, if I was offered $5 million for 3 years to go play there, I'd just knock it back. That's no hate to the Warriors fans or anything like that. It's just that I think this team isn't recruiting correctly in how they want to play Warrior football. Yes, they have a new coach in Andrew Webster, who was the assistant at Penrith, one of the assistants at Penrith, should I say. Not to confuse him with the Channel 9 and news reporter Andrew Webster. God love him on the Morning Glory with Matty John's show. So, yeah, that's just my little rant about the Warriors. It's just like, if there's a team you have to kick out, I'm kicking out the Warriors.
It's definitely an interesting one. Now, obviously, Taylor retiring, it was done medically due to chronic hip injuries. So that obviously does get removed from the cap. Quickly, before I give my opinion on this side, on their ins, on their outs, talk to me about that. Obviously, we know players get injured. We're not saying that they're faking injuries or anything like that. But say you get to the end of the year, you've got 1 year left on a contract. The club really wants you gone, but they say they'll give you a job in the back office. You can come work for the club as, say, a spokesperson, a media person.
Yeah.
Is a medically retirement kind of a loophole in getting someone out of a contract?
Yes and no. We've seen like Sam Burgess get medically retired. What was it? The Goanna.
That's a perfect example. Sam Burgess medically retired, and then there was rumors he was kind of come back to the Super League. So,
yeah, but it was only rumors. It never ended up.
Greg Inglis. Greg Inglis was medically retired.
That's who I was going to talk about, the Goanna. But there was also a player who was trying to get medically retired in Josh. Who's the Canberra? No, who's the Canberra kid that was drinking cruises on the hill with who went to the Sharks at centre?
Oh, Josh Dugan.
Yeah, so Josh Dugan, when he was at the Sharks, he was looking for a medical retirement. This was a few years ago. He was looking for a medical retirement, went to, reported apparently 32 plus doctors to try and get medically retired. Couldn't find a single problem with him. They go play a little trial over in PNG and whatnot, fall in love with the game, and he's back loving it. So is it a loophole to your question? Yes, it is, because it's a win-win situation. You get paid out as a player, but as a club, it's not recorded on your books due to being medically retired. But yeah, it is a good loophole. I like the reason why it's behind it, but some players, I just think, you sign this massive deal in Ash Taylor's defense, shouldn't say defense, but in his case, $1 million last year. Oh, I'll just go sit on the couch and become injured and get a back end office job. But it is what it is. It's part of the game. If you're going to use it because it's there, because other teams have surely used that loophole.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, like you said, it is a loophole. We've seen some teams, like I said, Greg Inglis is probably the biggest notable one who then went out and played, so questions should have been asked. But I think for 99.9999% of the time, if you're going to get medically retired, it's probably legitimate and it's probably not a loophole in the salary cap. But talking about the Warriors, like you said, very, very disappointing since that 2011 final. Last year, they finished 15th, 6 wins from 24 games. I think it's about time they stop saying, what about all this travel we've done? What about we haven't had home games? Because you were back at Mount Smart. This is a season. You've got a coach that's come from Penrith who's in a great system now. Obviously, he's not your first choice assistant from Penrith because we've seen all the players trying to follow the other assistant, obviously, across to the Bulldogs, who we will talk about in a future episode. But he knows the system. He knows a style that wins. It's just trying to get these players on the same page. Like you said, Mitch Barnett, great signing. Jackson Ford can do a job. Tamari Martin, I think that's a wonderful signing given the players they lost. Chance Nickel Klostak, he's the number one signing right there for me. He comes in. He's on a less wage than what Reece Walsh was on. He's going to slot into that fullback position. Dylan Walker, he can play in the halves. He can play in the centers. He's kind of a utility. Chuck him anywhere. He'll get the job done. So, again, it's been disappointing. I don't see him improving too much. And I think I've got to agree with you. When we do release this, they will be in my bottom 4 or thereabouts come that ladder prediction that we do. But we are up to 22 minutes, so we're quickly going to jump past them. Do you have any final comments before we jump into a bit of a talk about the preseason challenge?
Nah, I've talked about the Warriors too much.
And that's about how it goes. So obviously, like the Rugby League World Cup, Samoans hated you. Oh, no, was it Samoans who hated you?
No, the Tongans hated me.
The Tongans hated you, the Samoans loved you. The Warriors might hate you, but the rest of Sydney might like you a little bit more. But let's talk about the preseason challenge. Obviously, $100,000 prize money. If you win the game, you get 12 points. If you draw the game, you get 6 points. If it's your loss, you get 0. Bonus points, 5 tries, you get 1 point. 5 tries or 5 line breaks or more, you get 1 point. 10 plus offloads, you get 1 point. For a win, it's capped at 15 points. For a loss, obviously, it is capped at 9 points. And in a loss, I'm pretty sure you can still get 3 points. So I'll have to double check that one. But obviously, talk to me about it. They've come out here. They've said, let's add a bit of incentive to this. Let's make it so that teams might play their best players. The question I'm going to throw to you, what are your thoughts on this competition? Because obviously it is replacing the Auckland Nine. So which one would you prefer to see? Would you rather see the youth go to Auckland, or would you rather see the best of the best where we can go watch a cheap game if they're playing in Sydney and it's going to be quality? And my second question to you is, obviously we have Penrith playing in the Club World Challenge. In any of these preseason games, there is no extra time. It's 6 points for a draw if it's even. But for Penrith, if it's a draw in that that challenge, they go to extra time. So talk to me about obviously this. Talk to me about how rorted it would be if Penrith got 12 points for winning in extra time. Go for it.
Scrap both of them. They scrap the Nines. So that's that's a tick in my books. And scrap this. The preseason was all about getting arguably your top 30 players in and around the first grade squad, learning how to, if in an off chance that, like Sammy Walker, Luke Keary goes down, you need to chuck in a player to play alongside whoever it was to, you do that in the preseason. To add this challenge where, there's $100,000 up for grabs, just scrap the whole idea, because that's just going to push players to not want to hurt each other, but there is the chance that of an injury getting like a little bit of increase. Imagine this, right? Imagine the Roosters go out, game 1 of the preseason challenge, whoever you've got, Joey Manu snaps his ACL because he's trying too hard in this challenge, where he might go out there and Trent might have told him in previous years, you're going to play 15 minutes and then you're going to come off. So give me your best 15 minutes and don't go too hard because I know what you're going to do, but then we'll bring in our next center that might replace you, or the winger, whoever they're going to move around. I don't like it. I like seeing the younger lads, the lower half of the top 30, come together and sort of work the ball around the park. Look, that's my opinion. This is what they've gone with. Yes, there will be an uproar, and I will uproar with it if Penrith win in extra time and win the whole bloody damn thing, because I've just had enough of Penrith just winning and winning and winning, lifting shields after shields after shields. But it is what it is. Hopefully we can see some good footy played in the 2 weeks. I think is a little bit harsh. Maybe it should have been dragged over 3, maybe. Would have been better, but that's my opinion. What are your thoughts on this preseason challenge, Tony?
I don't mind it. It does add a bit of incentive. There's a few things I don't like about it. We've spoken about it before. That prize money, $100,000. That is the same prize money that a team gets for being first after 25 rounds. So you're telling me that a 2-week competition is worth the same as a 25-week NRL season? I think that's a bit of a joke. And like you said, for example, let's say a Tigers. Nothing against the Tigers. Obviously, they didn't play good last year. That's why I'm using it as an excuse. I expect them to do a lot better. But they go out, they go full strength. Some teams might not. They win $100,000. Penrith last year, they go out, they win the minor premiership. They were absolutely flawless. They get $100,000. Don't see where the justice is in that. So that's the first one I don't like. We look at the points. Why the fuck does a win have to be 12 points? A win can be 2 points. A draw can be 1 point. A loss can be 0. You're going to have bonus points, 1, 1, 1. I'm fine with them. Why do we need teams on 24 points at the end of 2 weeks? Like, again.
Yeah.
Add in a bit of excitement, cool, whatever, but I think that's stupid. I think the overall aspect, you're going to see the teams that don't think they can compete and don't think they can make the finals are going to go full strength in this competition because they're going to want that $100,000. I don't know how that works, if it means it goes to their salary cap, if it gets split amongst the players that played. I've got to do more research on that. But again, it adds a bit of an excitement to a trial. I'm going to a trial game. Yes, I don't want to see a Manu get injured. I don't want to see a Tedesco get injured, but it might mean they play 35 minutes instead of 20 minutes to try and kind of secure that game. But I think it goes down to each coach. A smart coach, the Stewarts, the Trent Robinsons, what's your coach's name again?
Toddy
Payton, Bellamy, Des Hasler to an extent. All those coaches, I think they're going to be smart.
Hold on. Des Hasler does not
Desi
anymore.
will be in. I can guarantee you, Desi will be at A ground somewhere thereabouts. It would not surprise me if he's a backroom staff at the Bulldogs come the end of the season. So that's my other prediction for this tournament. But I guess before we wrap up, Baxter, we actually didn't talk about this. We said we were going to do it. We haven't talked about it. Is there anything random? It doesn't have to be NRL. This is how we're going to wrap up the podcast each week. Is there any topic you want to bring up? It can be NRL related. It can be football related. We're all football fans here as well. It can be football related. It can just be general life. Is there anything you want to bring up before we wrap up the podcast?
Yeah, I only learnt this today. The reason why you get why your sunburn is sore is not because of the heat. It's because your skin's tightened, and as you stretch around, it's sore. I only learnt that over the weekend listening to the Triple J Hot 100. I didn't really realize that. I thought it was the heat trying to escape your body, but it's actually your skin being tightened and you trying to move around. It's actually creating pain to yourself. So, fun fact for me, I only learned it today, so I thought I'd share it on the pod.
Well, it's definitely a fun fact because my shoulders are still burning from Australia Day, and I know you're sunburnt too, so we can both know now why we're in a bit of pain when someone hits our shoulder if we move slightly or we stretch slightly. But I'm not going to add one this week. It is NRL related, so I'm not going to add it. I'm going to save it for the next podcast because we are at 30 minutes, but obviously it's our first podcast back. We're excited. We're excited for the season. We're excited to obviously be here week in, week out. So let us know in the comments what you want to hear about. Hit that subscribe button. I think we're only a few away from 200 subscribers. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, and Baxter, if they don't hit like, if they don't hit subscribe, first episode of the season, mate, where are they going?
They are going to the bin for 10.
Well, there you go, Baxter. Thank you for joining me, mate. And I will talk to you obviously soon. We'll come back and we'll review another 3 teams, and we'll keep going until we've got all 17 teams now done. And obviously we'll talk about each week's preseason games as they come. But Baxter, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, peace.
Now the stage is set for the best season yet. You'll see, and you will hear me every week when I